Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Hello. So my name's Matt, and I'm from a charity called the Naz and Matt Foundation. First of all, may I say it's an honour and a privilege to be here today at the launch of the Harm Matrix Network. And I'm really looking forward to working with some of you over the coming months and years. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about religious homophobia. Now, religion should never be used or accepted as an excuse for homophobia. Homophobia is a form of abuse, and like all abuse, we must work together to stop it. No ifs, no buts, no interpretations, no misinterpretations, no exceptions. There is no excuse for religious homophobia. Now, nothing I'm about to say today is anti-religion. In fact, it's quite the opposite. We are pro-religion where it exists to empower individuals to make us better human beings and make us stronger in a more accepting society. The work that we do aims to remove the barriers that prevent parents accepting their LGBTQI+ children by helping them understand that the barriers in front of them only exist in their own minds. These barriers can be dismantled, and in doing so, we might hopefully just save the life of a young LGBTQI person. Over 20% of gay, lesbian and bisexual young people attempt suicide because of their sexuality. Now, this risk significantly increases when they are born into a strict conservative religious family. But what does actually homophobia mean? So, homophobia, simplified, I'm giving you the simple version of it. Simplified, it means the fear of, dislike of, or prejudice against someone who's homosexual, gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual, queer, or intersex. Or a shortened version of that is LGBTQI+. In other words, fearing someone because of how they were born. Fearing someone because they are different to yourself. And quite often this fear occurs because they do not understand what it means to be born LGBTQI+. Some people refer to us, people like me, as being a lifestyle choice, that we choose to be gay. Well, why would we choose a path in life filled with so much hatred? Why would we choose a path where our parents may disown us, and in some sad cases may even kill us? The choice that we make is actually to accept ourselves in the hope one day that our parents will also accept us for how God made us. Now, some individuals will look to their religion, faith or culture to find answers when they need guidance. And this action should be recognised and celebrated because we do. However, for some, their interpretation is overtaken by literalism, laziness, control, and poor advice from their peers or religious leaders. Their thinking process bypasses their hearts. Their ignorance turns to fear, and their fear turns into hate. Sometimes their hate may turn into action. Their action will turn into abuse, but they will feel justified with this action and abuse in their own mind. Mental abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, blackmail, even torture, or in cases that we've been made aware of, exorcism too. Now, the thing we need to remember that religious belief is a choice. Homophobia is a choice. But being born LGBTQI+ is not. Now, before I talk about this in any more detail, what I'd like to do is share with you a story. It's a real life story about love, unconditional love, and never, ever giving up. Thank you. So I just want to share with you a few things now. They're very personal, but I think it's important to understand because what I'm about to tell you happened in our personal situation. But there's been a pattern and a commonality in the statements that I'm about to share with you. So I share it from personal experience, But from the people that we've helped, we've heard many of these statements over and over again from their families. So less than 24 hours after Naz passed away, I had to speak to one of his parents on the telephone for the first time in over 10 years. As we spoke, both of our hearts had already been taken away from us. And then they uttered the words, "You do realise that Naz was living in sin because of his religion." Now this was less than 24 hours after Naz passed away. "You do realise that Naz was living in sin because of his religion, and you do realise that you're living in sin because of yours." They went on to blame what happened to my fiance, my darling Naz, on their interpretation of their religion that they felt was more important than the unconditional love for their son. They felt justified in their views because they believed that's what their religion, not their culture, specifically they were referring to their religion, was telling them was true. And before that phone call had finished, they had emotionally blackmailed me to race back home to London to de-gay the house before their family arrived to inspect our home for the first time. They'd never been in our new home. They wanted to put our relationship, our very existence, everything that we owned together, us, into black bin bags and put into the closet. They wanted our lives to go back into the closet because we would bring shame on their family. They didn't want any of the relatives to know that Naz liked men. We were in a relationship for 13 years, engaged to be married. Out of respect, I complied with their wishes. And I thought, were we living in sin? Was this the reward that God gave to us because of how we were born? I think not. And I can't sit back and let this happen to anyone else. And because of tragic stories like ours, it's really important that none of us operate in a bubble. The world and this problem is too big for any one group to actually tackle on their own. We'd like to think that our foundation is doing a good job, but we could do so much more with greater effect and help more people if only we could tap into the minds, resources and data that each of you possess in this room today. This is the power of the Harm Network if we start working together to collaborate and share information, techniques and data. So I now live by Naz's moral values and his outlook in life, and this guides me in everything that I do. So when I need to make a hard decision, I always ask, what would Naz do in this particular situation? So this is why we fight fire with water. We challenge anger with love. We share real life stories, not just our own, to combat the fear of not understanding. And we are taking steps to try and stop what happened to our Naz happening to anyone else. And with this, I'd like to share something Today what I'd like to share with you is something we've been working on for the last 18 months. We don't normally share our work in advance of it going live, but I felt today was a really good opportunity to actually share something that we've been planning for the last 18 months. Because now is the time to start challenging the thinking of parents that will not accept their children because of how they were born. Let's not keep making excuses for homophobia, transphobia, biphobia, or intersex phobia. It's abuse. It should never be defended. There should never be an attempt to justify it, explain it away, or make excuses for anyone else. So, we're about to start a campaign, and to start this campaign, we went back into LGBT history to learn some lessons about how the LGBT community has actually empowered itself in certain situations. And one of the most interesting lessons that I found is actually the reclaiming of the word queer. Being able to stand up in front of people and say, I am proud to be queer. Because by owning that word, which some people find offensive, if I own that word, you can never use that word against me anymore. You can't hurt me with that word. In fact, I'll say fabulous, thank you. Because it's really important that we can't allow verbal words to hurt us. And so, with that in mind, the word that we hear the most in all of the cases that people who contact us and ask us for support, including my Naz and a very dear friend of ours who sadly passed away in 2016, the word we hear over and over again is the word shame. This word, even in its English translation, has devastating effects. It has been used in multiple occasions where we've been told that somebody has sadly taken their own life because their family accused them of bringing shame onto their family. So using this word, we would like to reclaim this word so it can no longer be used against the word, can no longer be used against the people that we work with. And so we're starting a campaign called Proud Parents. And our campaign for Proud Parents is we have been on search for proud parents from a religious or cultural background who are proud of their LGBTQI children. And this is the first mock-up or visual that we came up with. And it features the word shame. And this is just a rough design, but by featuring a real parent that might say something like, "My son is gay and I'm proud of him, and there is no shame in that." What we want to do is create parents as role models. Role model parents who other parents can be inspired to follow, to actually learn through their lessons how to accept their own children. And so far, we started the search for parents 3 weeks ago, and so far we've identified 17 parents who have come forward and said they would like to be part of this campaign. And I think I'm absolutely over the moon with that because they're from all different religious and cultural backgrounds. And what's been amazing about starting this campaign, we were actually contacted by the world's third largest advertising agency. Out of the blue, we didn't do anything to attract their attention. And it says, "Can we design a billboard campaign for you? What would you like it to be?" And so they've started to put these creatives together, which are going to be featured on billboards. This one is Brixton Brigade Red Watch. "I'm the father of a brave, non-binary son." St Agnes Church, we're delighted to announce that our daughter is engaged to her girlfriend. London, we're proud to have a gay son. And what's so lovely about this advertising agency, they said, not only will we design the campaign for you, but we'll actually even give you the billboard space to put it on. And that is the power of, I guess, the laws of attraction. If you put out positive messages, hopefully one day positive messages will come back to you. Because we found it on a mission where we want to remove barriers that stop parents loving their children unconditionally. So our mission statement, and it guides everything we do, is never to let any religion, come in between the unconditional love of parents and their children. That's not to say you can't be religious, that's just to say, just put that to the side just long enough to accept and love the child that you gave birth to. And a lot of the work we do is through storytelling, sharing our story like today, publicly, and also sharing the stories of other people. And because of the way that we've been doing this, other people have stepped forward with their stories, but also offering time and creativity to help empower our mission. And I'll share with you now a couple of examples. So here on the top left here, there was a piece of artwork that was custom done for us by one of the world's most famous street artists who had met Naz once before he passed away, and he wanted to do something special. So he did this custom work of art, which is now hanging in Naz's clinic in Soho, because he wanted to put out a statement that you can be of the same gender, of the same species, and courting and in love with each other. Now on the right hand side, you'll see a line drawing of Naz taking her wedding about 13, 14 years ago. Now that isn't just a line drawing. What it actually is a complete stranger who's from the same religious background as Naz. He contacted me, I've never met him before, and he said, "Matt, I want to do something special for your foundation. Please can I have your permission?" I said, "Yeah, of course, please do it." He said, "Good, because I've already done it. Here it is." And what he'd done with his own money and time, he'd actually commissioned an artist in Canada to sit down and painstakingly go through all of the interviews, all of the things that I'd said publicly about how much I love my Naz and how much I miss him. And what you see, you probably can't see from where you're sitting, but that's actually made up of thousands and thousands of my words that I spoke about how much I love and how much I miss my Naz. And what's great about this is that we can make things like this t-shirt, where we can actually sell to raise money for our foundation, because we don't receive any government funding. We've been sent poems, and I just want to share with you just the first 4 lines of a poem called I'm Sorry. We were contacted by somebody who's also called Naz, and I've never met this person before at the time, and the email came in and it said, "Dear Naz, from Naz, I don't know if I'm saying I'm sorry to you for not being there to protect you, or I'm saying sorry to myself because I'm in a similar situation to you." And the poem reads, "I'm sorry, Nazim, your mother could not see the beautiful gay man that you were. I'm sorry, Nazim, you did not get to see the day you would marry the man you love." Now, his real name is Naz or Nazim, but he also has another name. I take it everyone in the room knows what a drag queen is. So Nazim actually has a drag name, and so his drag name it's a surname, so it's an Indian Pakistani surname, but first name is Seema. This is where I get in trouble at schools. So, so we say it together, what do you get? So Seema Butt is now one of my closest friends, and she or he, depending if she's in drag, she now works with us. She set up her own Muslim support group called Hidayah, which is fantastic. She marches with us in Pride. She's going to be marching with us on Saturday in London. And because of that poem, we invited her down to London to a very high-profile event organised by Quilliam Foundation. And here is Seema Butt reading out her poem for the first time in public. This was the first time. She was very nervous. But the poem's called I'm Sorry. And it's beautiful acts of kindness like this that allow us to actually share our story and actually allow us to connect to people's hearts and minds rather than telling them what they can or can't think, because that would be as bad as the thing we're trying to challenge. So just want to share with you just a few more things very quickly. Because of us sharing our story, it got featured on a Channel 4 documentary called Muslim Drag Queens, which went out in 2015. If you haven't seen it, please do watch it. It's a groundbreaking documentary, and it's really fantastic. We've taken our story and our fight to challenge religious homophobia to the House of Lords. We travel around the UK, mostly to secondary schools, universities and colleges, to share our story, to try and change attitudes at an early age. Thanks to our very good friends at Karma Nirvana, they've given us a platform to allow us to share our story in a few different formats, which has led on to a few rather amazing things that have happened to us and connecting us to people in the law enforcement agencies in particular. Because we shared our story, something incredible happened last year. Naz had always wanted to take me to Glastonbury. Now sadly, we ran out of time before Naz and I went to Glastonbury. But in 2017, I was contacted by a band, a world famous band, a folk band called the Young Uns. And they said, "Matt, we've done something for you, is that okay?" And before I had a chance to reply, they said, "Here it is, we've written a song called Be the Man, and it documents the moment that you met Naz, your journey, sadly what happened to Naz, the reasons why he passed away, and now the learning journey ahead, trying to change attitudes within parents' minds." So the song Be the Man, it was released in the charts. It was nominated for 2 awards at the BBC Folk Awards. They made a music video, and because of us sharing our story through this song, we've been asked to speak at numerous different places. And I guess something which some of you may have seen already, because of us sharing our story, it's helped inspire part of a very high profile storyline in Coronation Street. So the hashtag Karma storyline, so that's Rana on the left. She's a young lady from a Muslim family who falls in love with a white British lady. And part of the story, her family treats her in very similar ways to how Naz's parents treated him. And I think this is really important because by sharing stories in this way and allowing dramas like this, it now means that this topic can be going into millions of parents' households around the UK to try and open their minds just enough to make them understand that this is a thing. This is a thing that might be happening in their own family, and they need to treat their family member with positivity and respect. And it has had a positive impact. Our support calls have gone up, and also we've been shared some really wonderful stories about how they only heard about us because of Coronation Street, and we've been able to help them because of that. The work that we do, we've received official support from the Association of British Muslims, which is fantastic. We've been given or nominated or shortlisted or given a few awards for the approach to the work that we do, which is always about positivity, love, and acceptance. And we've just recently published our first illustrated children's book, which will go into primary schools and libraries and community centres around the UK. So I'm going to leave you now with a thought. Some of you may have to make this choice today, because when I leave this stage, you can forget about me, you can forget about our foundation, you can forget about Naz, what happened to him, and why he died. But sadly, if we all leave this room today and we forget everything that I've said, then sadly more young people like my Naz will take their own life. Or some of us could spend a few hours each month together or with us, together through the Harm Network, trying to tackle and solve this very problem. Because if we do, we might just be able to save a young person's life. Because I can't sit back and let this happen to anyone else ever again. The question is, can you? Thank you all for your time today. Thank you. Thank you.